Hey everybody, Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm gonna get started because otherwise we're never gonna get started. Never gonna waste your information. Okay, ready? Okay. Okay, so this is the Stuff I Heard podcast. Like I said, my name is Josh Peak, and today happens to be Saturday, the 30th of November, 2019. And I've got a couple of guests in today. I've got a friend of mine, Jeff Vealey. Say hey, Jeff.
Hey there, Josh.
And I also got his lovely wife, Justine. Hi, Justine.
Hi, Josh.
And my wife, Dolores, has happened to step in. Hi.
Hi.
She looks so lovely today. She got up and I told her I was going to have a podcast with Jeff and Justine, and she was like, I think I'm going to get up early. And I was like, what? What do you mean you're going to get up early? I was like,
right,
it's not a
awesome.
Full moon. I don't think.
Special.
Yeah. We're not going to Disney. I mean, that's usually why she gets up early. There's no real other reason to get up early.
I mean, this we could talk about Disney all day.
Are you saying
Really?
that Jeff and Justine should be they are like top of the line? I mean, top notch. I got up
For you to
them.
get up early?
I know, right?
It's really important.
They are special people.
Yeah. She's got a lot invested in your relationship, you know.
All right.
But anyway, I had talked to you about coming on the podcast because you're the guy that I talk to a lot of times when I want to figure out some technical stuff of what to use next, what new equipment I should upgrade to, and what's your opinions and that kind of stuff, because I value your opinion on a lot of this stuff. I did go with the Amplify, the Wi-Fi throughout the house. I've got the central unit in the living room. I put one actually in this bedroom. That way it connects to here and also the garage, because I spend a lot of time in the garage.
Okay.
And then I put one in the back office on the back wall, because that way it covers that side of the house, also the back porch. So if we have guests on the back porch, it'll kind of bridge between the living room and the back porch. And I figured as a web, that kind of integrates really well.
They work with each other, yep.
Yeah.
So you figured out the central base station is also a Wi-Fi access point as well. Good.
And it has
so-
a cool night light on it.
Oh, yeah. It does.
Yeah,
I really love the night light.
The lighting aspects of being
like
able
that.
to change like the brightness or to have sound on it or not, or that kind of stuff is really helpful. But also one of the things I like is like you can see every device on it from your phone when you have the app attached to it, so that you can assign names to every one of the devices.
Yep.
And then like for us personally, we have a 26-year-old that keeps moving back home. So whenever I get really annoyed at him, I can just turn off all his Wi-Fi, and then after a while he comes downstairs. He's like, "Something's wrong with the Wi-Fi." I'm like, "I'm working fine." And I'll touch the thing that turns his phone on, and he'll look at his phone and he goes, "Oh, it's working. Okay." And then he'll go back upstairs and nothing's working. And he's like, "It's not working." And I'm like, "I know, man. I don't know what's going wrong, man. You probably need to move out and get your own Wi-Fi. Maybe that'll."
It's really good parental controls and stuff, Now, the question is, does he listen to this podcast?
No, absolutely not.
probably
He could
not.
care less. So
Yeah.
this is. I might as well just be telling secrets right now. No one will ever know. Secret
All
time.
sorts of secrets. All right.
Yeah. So who cares? But anyway, it's something fun that I can do if I'm at work and he happens to be back here. I can just be like, turn you off for the day. And he's just like, the Wi-Fi's not working. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Oh, what are you gonna do? So anyway,
That's something inspired to be, at least for us anyway. We're wanting to have kids here in the future and be able to find ways to police our network, especially when I work in cybersecurity now and seen some of the interesting things that have been out there on the dark side of the internet, as one of our favorite podcasts would call it, Darknet Diaries. There's some scary stuff that happens out there, and I want to try to see if I can protect my kid as much as I possibly can.
oh yeah, because you work in cyber terrorism and whatnot, don't you? I mean, you're kind of helping people get protected from stuff like that.
I do actually. I work for a company called CyberArk. So we're a cybersecurity software company based out of Newton, Massachusetts. Originally founded in Tel Aviv, Israel in 1999. So we've been around for 20 years now. Been there for going on my fifth year, something like that, since 2016. So going on my full fourth year now, starting the fifth year. I started there as a customer success technical advisor. So I would go into customers that have purchased the software, ensure they're getting good use out of it, that are actually following best security practices, and they're actually, frankly, getting an ROI, and it doesn't become shelfware. Where since then I've transitioned to start working with the federal government. So I am on DoD installations pretty often, trying to help them with their adoption of CyberArk. And frankly, what it essentially we're doing is rotating passwords. So if you're not able to see on the camera, I have a shirt on that says, "I love strong passwords." That's essentially what CyberArk is all about, taking a credential, whether it's a secret from an API key perspective, whether it's a password that you have on your phone, on what it may be, and storing it in a hardened, patented security vault, so to speak. So it's a credential vault. that's automatically rotated on the back end. So we also isolate the credential from the user. So frankly, we've seen that users are very dangerous when it comes to knowing credentials, and they like to store them on things like notepads on their computers that could easily be scraped. Or
Okay, that's the question. Okay, I've got a question.
Sure. Let's go.
How often should you change your passwords? Or for instance, all the different things we have to have passwords for nowadays. Amazon, Facebook. I mean, just the basic things that we use our phones for. That's how I shop anymore. But how often should you change your password? And the second question would be, where is a good place to store those? Because how do you remember all of them?
Right. No, that's a great point. Honestly, from a consumer standpoint, I have one answer. From a commercial standpoint, there's different answers there. So from a consumer standpoint, folks that aren't necessarily working in IT specifically, I would try to change them. Maybe it's kind of like changing your underwear, so to speak. So one of our competitors would say, which is kind of entertaining. Try to change it maybe have every 6 months to a year, something along those lines, just to kind of mix it up. But another thing too is that you don't have to change it nearly as often if you have multi-factor authentication placed in front of it. So almost all of the most social media platforms, such as Facebook, supports this capability now, where we're able to actually place multi-factor in front of it, where it'll send you a text message or something like that to your phone to validate that you really are who you are. So the idea of multi-factor authentication, or at least two-factor, is validating that something that in this case your password, and something that you have, your phone. Therefore, if that phone is something that you possess and you own, then we feel a little bit more confident that this password is being accessed by you.
So that's why, like, if you have like a Google account and you're just setting up something with YouTube, it sends you an extra step of verify it on your phone for this or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So we follow that same concept in the commercial business, and in addition to the federal government, where the federal government loves these things called smart cards, otherwise known as PIV or CAC cards, that are used to log into computers, where that is something they have and something they know. Obviously, is their PIN that's in their head that allows them to access resources and such there.
Okay. I've seen commercials for these extra, companies that are selling these like extra password protection firewall type things. Whether 3VPN or something. I forget what it's called. But
could be there's multiple. There's all sorts of different flavors of password managers and stuff that are out there. At least one that I recommend personally and that I use. It's also free. It's called LastPass. If you factor that together with Duo security, so I like to use the idea of having disparate authentication technologies to be able to allow me to validate that I am who I am. So Duo's separate company from LastPass, versus I can use LastPass's two-factor authentication, but I feel a little bit more better if I'm using something that's a separate company from a validation perspective. So there are password managers that are free out there that consumers can use. And I highly recommend, whenever you're signing up for a bank website or you're creating an account anywhere, go in there, randomize that password, store it in LastPass, let it manage it for you. So at the end of the day, you're not going to care what it is. All you know is that you are who you are. So validate who you are to access the credential, and then you're good to go. I've
noticed that, like, I don't know if it's something to do with iPhone or with Apple products, but when you do things through, a lot of times through an Apple product, it tells you it has like a randomizer, and it says, do you want to go ahead and just sign up for the randomizer, and we'll take care of this. And I'm like, I've heard a lot about Apple security, and that's usually a pretty good way to go. Is that pretty standard?
I would say Keychain, especially for common Mac users, especially. I think basically using Keychain, which is basically Apple's password storage capability, is a great start. It's great for Apple products, but how do you kind of deal with other products that you have that may not be Apple?
Right.
Sometimes that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Or some websites that don't honor that kind of program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I would recommend using something that's a little bit more platform elastic, if you will.
Well, most people
aren't.
Most people aren't as literate in this as you are, us included. I mean, the average consumer is going to look at it and go, well, "Why do I care?" What would be the reason?
Well, a reason would be actually, this is something that I was actually teaching out at Camp Robinson in Little Rock, Arkansas last week, where we were talking about the concept of least privilege and how you're a local administrator, you can install anything on your laptop, right? Mm-hmm. That whole same concept there could be easily exploited by an attacker by clicking on a phishing email, which is probably the most common attack vector now, where in this case, I didn't even have local admin rights on the computer to be able to take over the computer. All I had access to was a browser. And if I'm storing credentials, for example, in that browser in Chrome, all I need to do is go to GitHub, download a PowerShell script that'll actually crack everything that's in that browser. I saw every single password that was stored there in plain text that was also synced up to Google. So in this case, I want to take this credential, go up to Google, passwords.google.com, for example, and I have bank account information stored in there. Next thing I know, I have a login now to your bank.
Wow.
And there's another aspect of this, too, to think about as well, where obviously we're checking the banks are natively now where you're logging in from. So obviously it will show up as something that's suspicious. But Justine has done something here very interesting, too, since where she's very much interested in the concept of social engineering, where we've gone to DEF CON, which is a hacking conference in Las Vegas that's every year. I've gone for the last 4 years in a row, Justine the last couple, where we will sit in and listen to a capture the flag contest on camera that's actually in an isolated phone booth, where they have different things they're trying to capture just by talking to people.
Really?
And trying to extract information out of them.
It's amazing the kinds of things that people will divulge over the phone if they feel comfortable with the voice that's on the other end. It's really interesting and a little bit scary.
Part of that would be also, I would imagine, in these, like recently I've seen a lot of fake Facebook accounts where people will steal an image and they'll reach out to people, hey, I got a new account. And you're like, oh, okay. Most people don't think about it and they just start chatting with them. And they'll ask them information, kind of like, what was that movie with the magicians who were stealing things? There's the guy that asked them like casual questions to find out hidden passwords to, their kitten or their kid's favorite, animal or their kid's names or whatever. And all the while he's looking up like passwords to their bank account. But he's asking them like random questions that's just like friendly conversation to him. But I see that as like a thing that people are using through like social media accounts maybe to ask you all kind of very interesting questions that you don't even think is really important, but you're like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care. But like not only the fake, social media accounts, but also like, she and I have talked about how we'll get emails once in a while from an account that looks like a legit account and it says, hey, by the way, you need to update your password. Click here to update your password. And I tell her all the time, if you see something like that, do not click on it. Like if you have a legitimate need for a password change, we'll go online on the website ourselves. Yeah, exactly. That way we know we're going to their website.
Don't click a link to take you straight there.
If you click on that link, it could take you to anything, and it just makes it look like something real. And most people don't know that. Most people, I heard something on the radio that says that they're getting in like $170-something million a year on fake accounts. And also the scam of calling you and saying, hey, your warranty's up. And most people are like, oh, my God, my warranty's up? Oh, let's go ahead and settle that. It's a fake account. None of that's real. But
Did
you
I
give
even
over
have
your
a
information
warranty?
right away. Exactly. Why would I need a warranty for something that's, 20 years old? Oh, I didn't realize I had that. But like, predominantly like older people are not paying attention. I think younger people are a little more aware because it's in the conversation more, but also there is a group of young people who are oblivious to anything having to do with cybersecurity. They're just openly putting their life online because they see everybody else doing it. Me, myself, personally, I'm on social media. I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing YouTube. My stupid face is on all the time. They have the software now that they could take technology from things I say and make me say anything based on that. Joe Rogan, had somebody do that with him. Like they had him saying some ridiculous stuff about chimps playing hockey. And he was like, I've never strung those words together in my life, but they did it and they had facial recognition and they changed it so it looks like he's doing a podcast talking about chimps playing hockey. And he was like, oh my God, this is the freakiest thing ever. But, if you have enough content out there, they can do that. Well, kind of the same thing's true about all of us if we're not paying attention.
Right.
And, nowadays everyone's like, oh, notice me. I want to be a celebrity. Let me talk. And, let me have my moment in the sun. And they freely give up way too much information, in my opinion.
Even things that are seemingly innocent, like you scroll through Facebook and you see these quizzes like, pick your favorite brunch foods and we'll tell you which Disney princess you are, that kind of information. There are questions in those quizzes where they're basically farming for information or fishing for information that they can use to put pieces together.
That makes sense.
So like, oh, we have your dog's name in this one, or...
Not only that, but I think that a lot of those quizzes on Facebook are meant to take you to other websites where they can easily access information from your keystrokes.
Of course.
They're looking for a pattern, I think.
So, that's the idea, that if you cloak it in something that looks like fun...
Yeah.
Then they've got
your guard is down.
Right.
At that point.
Yeah, and I think somewhere along the way we decided to go with Apple products just because of the added level of security. And you and I actually talked about that before I made the jump because I was like, I'm so intimidated by going to this. I said, but we've used regular PCs up to now and we keep getting these viruses. And you were like, well, all I can tell you is Apple just doesn't get them. And I was like,
Not nearly as often.
that's enough for me to
Knock
know.
on wood. I mean,
Yeah.
I just went with a job that I went from Apple products, which I do iPhone and iPad, and I have a Apple MacBook. I went to a Lenovo ThinkPad with Windows on it, and I had not used
Windows in so long, yeah.
and
Makes it difficult.
I fight with it every night when I'm trying to do work.
She's like, I can't get it to do the thing I know how to do. And I was like, this sounds just like the conversation I had when we started with these Apple products. We've sat there and went, how can I get it to do the thing I know how to do all the time? And it won't do it. And you're just like,
I know
I
it's
got to
personal
relearn to make the wheel.
preference.
Oh, great.
Right.
And it's all in what you get used to.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a lot harder to navigate. I think that the Apple products are a little smoother, a little more user friendly. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
No,
And
I
they
agree.
I don't have as many issues with viruses and things like that. So
Yeah. I mean, but like, I watch these now YouTubers are starting to promote for these, virus protection walls and stuff like that, and log into here before you go to a hotel. And that way no one's watching your keystrokes or, monitoring your stuff. And I'm thinking for the average consumer, they're thinking, what does that matter? All I'm doing is checking my Facebook while I'm here. Or they're at the airport, which I hear a lot about people, being able to clone your phone at an airport because they can get really in close proximity to you.
Yep. They can use
And-
things like a Wi-Fi pineapple and can actually make you connect to a rogue access point.
It'll
that looks
it'll say like,
legitimate. And you extract all their information.
Delta Wi-Fi #1, and you're like, oh, there's Wi-Fi. And you click on it, and
Oh,
next thing
it's
you know,
open. It does not secure it. Oh, I'm going to definitely go there.
they're watching you do everything that you want to do, and you thinking everything's fine, and they're just watching you the whole time. You're like, all right, let's just collect this data.
And you never know what that data is being collected for and who it's being sold to, who the highest bidder is, whether it's going on the dark web potentially. For all we know, nation-state attackers, China, could be building profiles on all of us. If we think about TikTok, a very commonly used social media platform now for making music videos, they know all sorts of information about little girls now that I can only imagine what's going to be used in the future as
That's very creepy.
cyber war continues to increase. And actually, speaking of cyber war, this is actually pretty interesting too. I'm listening on Dark Knight Diaries, where I found out for the first time ever that the United States has actually disclosed that they actually executed a cyber attack against ISIS.
Oh.
And actually took down all of ISIS's social media.
Wow.
This was a United States Cyber Command. So personally, for me, working for CyberArk and working with the federal government, it's like I feel like I'm contributing to helping that cause, which is kind of fascinating.
That's a
and cool
huge
to me.
win.
yeah.
But them being able to do it, they were in ISIS's network for well over 6 months, just watching the different characteristics of the different.
Well, I heard they were very clever in the
people
fact
there.
that they would pass along information through regular photos. They would just take photos of scenery and food and whatnot,
And
but they had like
messages.
encrypted messages to what the pictures mean to what they're supposed to do. And I was like, God, that level of it's a very interesting way to do it, but it's also like, how do you stop that? And to have somebody get in that far to understand it, I mean, you almost have to have cryptologists with linguists with someone on the inside to say, this is kind of what we're looking at. And you go, oh, okay. I mean, but just that level of security is just mind-blowing if you think about it. I mean,
But you also think about it, too, is where ISIS kind of left their guard down on a lot of things. And frankly, the United States was able to leverage some known 0 days. So a 0 day basically means a non-disclosed attack vector that's not known to any antivirus vendors or anything like that can easily be exploited. And there were several of them that were taken advantage of. And after running reconnaissance for 6 months, and there's an entire attack framework they follow, but they ran reconnaissance to get an idea of who they are, what they do, what their behaviors are. Then from there, they scripted an attack exactly in a specific order, went through the proper chain of command all the way up to the president, where the president signed off and said, okay, this operation is a go. They executed all the commands, took down ISIS, literally from their social media platform, deleted all their Twitter accounts, Facebook, whatever it was. They literally disappeared in 2016 for a period of about 2 or 3 months. Then they started cropping back up in other places, and we would find where they are and go take them down again, where eventually they just got tired of it and kind of threw their hands up.
to me, it's so weird that, we all knew that the government was kind of watching us all along anyway. And with the Patriot Act, it was kind of said out loud of, well, we're looking at terrorists. And even as common Americans, we went, I think you're kind of watching more than just that. And then when Edward Snowden came out and said, yeah, absolutely, they're not only storing data on terrorists, they're storing data on everyone. The government decided he was public enemy number one, and they want to try, find him for treason. And I'm like, why? Why would you want to go after Snowden for just saying what we all thought?
There are.
I mean, he just basically just revealed that, yeah, this is what we're doing. Okay, well, no one was surprised. I don't think anybody was like, oh my God, they are? I mean,
he had a top secret clearance, and he clearly gave
yeah, I
classified
mean, he was
information.
He
out.
was
part of the
Right.
main driver.
right. But I don't think it was that serious of a violation. It wasn't like he said, our troops are over here and go get them.
No, definitely didn't say that at all.
There wasn't that kind of information. And he was very clear about that. He was like, I'm going to let you know this is what we're doing. And it's not a secret. Like, if you ask the common person, they're going to go, oh yeah, no duh. But yeah, they want to go after him as like, public enemy number one. And I don't agree with that. I just don't. I mean, I had a clearance. I had a very high level clearance when I was in the military. And there was things that I could not talk about. But I could generally say, things like, I'm not so concerned about this country, but I'm more concerned about this country. If somebody asked me, but I couldn't tell them any information past that.
Right.
But it was like, you have levels of security of things you're allowed to see and things you're not. There were things that people of higher rank weren't allowed to know that I knew just because of the position that I held. Mm-hmm. But, you get out of that and you get away from it and you're like, I don't want to know that stuff anymore. Like, Let's just say it happened and let's move on.
Like the Men in Black, click.
Yeah,
just erase it.
Yeah,
let's just get it out. So,
it's no secret now because we've heard about it. North Korea having nuclear capability and ballistic launch ability and stuff like that. And I knew about that in the mid '90s, but I was like, my mom's on the phone talking about, I'm so concerned about Iraq, and I'm like, I'm not. Mm-hmm. I could care less about them. I've got my eyes focused on North Korea. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I can't talk about it. And she's like, okay.
Even then, that might have been classified as slightly too much information.
Yeah.
Depending on who you
I was just like, I'm not concerned about them at all. But
okay, well, y'all are like way, way over my head at this point in the ballgame.
You can feel the wind rush through
I mean,
your hair.
right.
Goes over
It's something more,
head.
okay, back to a little more basic.
Let's change gears.
Okay, like our listeners would be, and something I'm curious of asking, and whenever you go to a hotel room, and you're in your hotel room because you're away on business, and you don't want to use your data on your phone. But I don't know how, most people probably have unlimited. Josh and I are still stuck in the olden days with the 12 gigs that we never even use every month. But you go in, you check in, they tell you they have Wi-Fi. You get up to your room, it tells you, your instructions how to sign on to their Wi-Fi. You sign on to their Wi-Fi. It does plainly say that it is a unsecure. It will say that. Do they have access, if I sign in to use their Wi-Fi while I'm there, they have access to my pictures and my notepad and everything?
Not necessarily on your phone, but they can be monitoring your network traffic, especially if it's going across the wire in what's called plain text. So therefore, if I'm sending like a message, it would be sent. We can clearly see that text message going across if it's not encrypted. Now, luckily, with Apple and many different applications that are out there, they use encryption end to end. So yes, your data may be being watched, but at the same time, all they're seeing is a bunch of gobbledygook. So we're essentially taking encryption and applying it to each of our common devices.
So if I'm sitting in a hotel room on business in another town in my husband's home, and I'm texting him messages back and forth, and a kissy face or whatever.
I'm just saying
like
this?
I'm just saying in general. I'm just saying in general. Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
Nobody has access to that or cares about having access to that.
Not necessarily, no.
I mean, it's not like I'm telling big time secrets here.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
If anything, it could, and again, as long as you have an encryption method in place, they won't even really see that because it'll show up as gobbledygook, more or less. Especially if you're using at least WhatsApp. I think iMessages may be doing something similar to that now. I'm not 100% certain on that one. But another way to completely secure your connection entirely is by leveraging a VPN. That way, if you have a personal VPN that's on your phone, like for example, I use PIA, which is a private internet something. That allows me to have a dedicated dedicated tunnel out to the internet, which then will get routed back to wherever it needs to go. And I'm having a secure tunnel going out. So it's an easy way to see that it's protected.
Those are all pay programs, right?
PIA is definitely a paid service. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen the...
Which means like for so many dollars per month or whatever, you have that protection. You can use that. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm doing a yearly subscription. I think it's $15 for a year or something like that.
Oh, that's
it's a
not
very
bad.
minuscule amount.
Yeah. I watch a lot of people on YouTube. This is the stuff I heard podcasts, and I listen to a lot and I watch a lot. But Casey Neistat is one of the bigger YouTube guys out there, and right now he's got a VPN that he's promoting because he does a lot of international travel, and I'm sure that he's got bank accounts tied to everything he's got also, so that once in a while he's got to go in there and click something to move money.
Yep.
But he's like anytime I'm traveling, this is what I like to use, and I'm like, should I be paying more attention to this? Like it suddenly became a thing. I was like, I need to ask Jeff.
No, it's definitely a legitimate thing, especially if you're traveling internationally and if you're doing anything with your bank account and it shows up in another country and your bank notices that and they're like, this looks a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Let's double check to make sure you are who you are.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that. My dad was a truck driver for, 30-ish years, and at some point he saved up money and went to college full time and started working in a bank. Later on in his career working at the bank, he started working in the fraudulent department, and they said they would start monitoring, weird charges and looking more into it. And he said, weirdly enough, he said a lot of it was tied back to terrorism. He said they would figure out how to siphon money off people who weren't paying attention. He said it might be, a couple pennies here, a couple pennies there, $1 here, $1 there. He said, but it adds up to quite a bit of money. And he said, some of the things we uncovered were millions of dollars worth of fraudulent funds. And then when we start looking at it, it's like, oh, this goes back to ISIS. Whoa, holy cow, And so they would, pass that information along and be able to shut it down or monitor it enough to find out where those groups are and stop their money, which is really interesting. But he was saying that, luckily banking has gotten really involved in that because of all the fraudulent charges. And, regular consumers are calling saying, what is this? I don't understand what this is. And if they don't, if their money's not moving like they want, they'll change banks. So it's like top interest for banks to have these, in place of monitoring this kind of stuff. So like we've had a couple of times where we get random charges for this or that in, a foreign country, and the bank will call us and go, you're not in Brazil, are you?
No, it's not that. It's not that so much as I'm of the mindset that the little chip that's now in all credit cards is somewhat of a tracker. I think it is. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, because I've had things with a certain credit card that if we have been at a location using the card, we could charge $1,000 at one time and never get any indication that anything is wrong. No email saying, did you just charge X amount of dollars? But I can be in Florence and a random charge hit in another town that is very minor. I mean, not a couple dollars, and get a text message on my phone saying, are you at this location charging $1.29? And I'm like, first off, no, I'm not. But it's odd. Why would you send me a text message for something that small? But yet I can be, I can be somewhere else. I can be in Alaska or I can be in Hawaii and use this exact same card and charge a couple of $100 and you never send me a text message asking if it's me.
And also, like with the text, she gets a text like that and it says click here, and I'm like, don't click there. Call the bank.
No, it didn't say. I mean, it didn't
Sometimes
ask
it
that.
has a link, but I'm like, call the bank and ask.
That's actually
call the number you have.
A classic attack, or not classic, but that's a newer attack vector.
That's a newer attack.
It's
yeah,
basically intercepting SMS messages.
Yeah.
But as far as I guess back to the original question, as far as the chip is concerned, really, credit cards have been tracking our behavior as far as how we spend for decades. Where they see different patterns, that they actually create a pattern associated with your account. Now, if you happen to use that same credit card to buy your plane ticket going to Alaska, then obviously they know you're going to Alaska.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, they know what the dates are and stuff like that. They are actually looking at pretty in depth there on some of what they can see in the credit
you're
card.
You're getting gas while you're driving to Florida, and then suddenly you're in Disneyland.
Could be, yeah. And that seems very logical. Where maybe they are doing some other different type of profiling that we don't really know.
Of course, that's my whole. I'm down here at Disney, and I just I just charged $500 at one place. No text message, no email. Is this you? But yet, I can be sitting in Florence, and somebody in Orlando can charge $1.29, and they're like, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Whoa! How did you know that I'm not? How did you know that I'm not in Orlando?"
I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a tracker on
Yeah.
it in some way, shape, or form, as far as GPS tracker and where the card physically is.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit, because I know right now the casual listener is like, shut up, Josh, we're tired of this. How did y'all meet?
Internet.
The same way we met. Same
Get
way
out of
we
town.
met.
Now that we've talked all about all the scary things that happen on the internet.
Guess what we did? Yeah, we actually met on eHarmony.
Oh,
I think Justine has a little bit of a funnier story here.
Oh, about how I was sad and lonely on my 30th birthday, so I signed up for an internet dating site.
And I had been off and off dating sites for 2 or 3 years, and went out on the first date with Justine, and
He was the first date that I got off of internet dating,
whoa!
and he will be my last.
Talking about striking it gold. We sort of did the same thing before there was eHarmony.
AOL.com.
Back in the 90s.
You got mail.
You know how they used to
Alright.
give you like, well, you probably don't even remember. Y'all are too young.
Yours are young.
The,
the Meg
the
Ryan
AOL
movie?
classifieds?
The little the
Yes, yes.
But the free, they used to give you a free AOL disc at the local grocery store.
Oh, I remember
and
those.
and it was like 30 months worth of free internet. And there was no monitoring or anything, so you could just get a new one every month from the grocery store and put it in the thing, and you had free internet for the month.
30 days. You said 30,
30 days
months.
worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30 months worth.
30 months
Whatever.
worth, 30 days.
Might as well be.
Yeah, it's all about the
So like at
Nobody's
a certain
tracking
point,
that.
I think I'd come home from the Marine Corps in '98, and I was a single parent with 2 kids, and trying to get my own place and that kind of stuff. And the weird thing was, it was out of my friends, I was the first one to move away. And when I came home, they'd all left, and I was the first one back, and they've not returned. So I came back, and I'm like, oh, my friends are gone. What the heck? How do I make friends as a 24-year-old with 2 kids? And I was like, I don't even know how to do any of this crap. And the internet has started to become a thing. It was, 98. My mom had a computer. I didn't have a computer, but I got to use her computer. And I'm back there, and you log on to AOL, and the internet back then didn't even know what it wanted to be. It was just like, click here for recipes, click here for, whatever. And websites weren't really developing. I mean, I guess they were starting, but, AOL was trying to build a community back then. They were like, hey, what if we get people in their local areas to like communicate and hang out? There was an instant messenger that you could write each other randomly instant messages. You could go on instant message boards and just, find groups that you might be interested in and talk. And it was like the early days of what would become Facebook in a way.
Chat rooms.
But random. Like, yeah, chat rooms, but random. Like
For the record, he had a profile. I did not.
I hadn't got to that point.
I was pushing the shopping cart going down the aisle. I was pushing the shopping cart
Minding
through
your own business.
through
And
the
then, wham,
profiles.
there was Josh.
So did you guys have profiles?
We did. And actually, for eHarmony, it was really about, obviously it's a paid service. So it's about what you invested into it. It
Yeah.
would be what you would get out of it.
I
is
did the free
idea.
communication weekend.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't pay for it.
I was the idiot that was paying for it.
Yeah, but look what you got out of it. You got your money's
worked out.
worth.
I got
Got
my
your
money's
money's
Ours was
worth.
free.
It was free whenever.
I just posted a picture of me, and which took forever. Back then, you couldn't just snap a picture.
Oh, it
with
was
your
all
phone.
dial up. You know,
It
remember
was
the
all
whole.
pixelated too, right?
Yes.
It was horrible. You had to find somebody with a scanner. You had to actually take a physical photo, get it scanned into the machine, and it may or may not work. You have to try again a couple days worth to get it to load, and then once it loaded, it may or may not load on the website because it might be too big. So it took quite an endeavor for me to actually get it on the thing.
We still have the picture. The picture that he
Yeah, it's in the hallway
uploaded.
around
The
the
picture
corner.
that he
Oh, nice.
uploaded
Yeah.
for his AOL profile is actually
That's
in a picture
awesome.
frame in
and
the hall.
I just put some stuff on there about being a parent and whatnot, and I think I wrote some poetry on there or something. I was into writing.
Oh yeah, he was into writing poetry big time.
And she was sad and lonely, and no, her story is actually kind of funny.
My sister was actually, she and I both wound up being single right around the same time. She moved back to South Georgia with my parents for a little while, and they had a computer. I had a computer, but I had never heard of the profiles of the online dating. And we happened to be at my parents' house one weekend, and we were up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and she was like, let me show you this coolest thing. You can actually see people that want to date on the internet. And I was like, no way. So she pulls up AOL and we start looking. So, I mean, gosh, some of the pictures were just not so pretty. But when I got back home on my own time and my own computer, I started looking around the Florence area, and I am older than Josh by a good bit. So I come across his profile, and he was, I thought, okay, he's a nice looking guy, talks about his kids, because I had a son. And so I was like, I just emailed him. I did not.
You didn't email me. You just instant messaged me.
No, I sent an email. We
Did
first
you?
sent with the instant message wasn't even a thing back then.
Yeah, it was.
You had the little pop-up box, but we had not done that. We did full-blown emails. I just did an email saying nothing about his looks or anything like that, but just the fact that it was nice to see somebody who had his priorities in line when it came to his children, things like that. And
She was smart. She used like a code name, whereas I just put my name on
Josh
there.
had his
I'm
name.
like,
I did
"My
not.
name's
You could
Josh
not tell
She
what
was
my
already
name.
thinking
She,
cybersecurity.
Yeah, I
she was
mean-
thinking cyberterrorism ahead of time. She's
Yeah.
like, I don't anybody know I'm on here.
No, I was thinking single female in today's.
She was
You've
smart.
seen Dateline before, haven't
Yeah, exactly.
She
There
was
you go.
very
I
smart
saw
about it.
single white
Yeah.
female a long time ago. So he did not know what my name was or anything like that.
I didn't even know she was a woman.
We did.
That's true. You took that
you-
for
I
you-
granted.
honestly
right.
thought, I wonder if this is my mom, like being really weird, but also trying to like let me know that I'm not.
No,
sad
there was
and
too
alone.
many things I said that you would have known that because I told him. I didn't tell him how old I was. The only thing I said was that I was not interested at all in dating him. I just wanted to let him know that it was, you seem like a nice guy. You've got your priorities in line. I like the fact that your children come first, things like that. So we emailed. We did full blown. The whole you got mail. I mean, I would rush home from work in the evenings and turn my computer on and wait for it to boot up and wait for it to get online. And then it would say, you got mail.
Yep.
And we would write just full emails back and forth to each other about once a week or so, talking about things that were going on with us and our kids. And we did
Yeah,
that
because we were busy with our kids. They
With
played
work
sports
and our
they
kids.
did.
It makes it
mine
tough
had
to me.
mine was in Cub Scouts, and there was all the time rushing around trying to get normal everyday stuff done. But then if you had some free time, you're like, let me hop on the computer and see. Oh, I got an email. Cool, and you read it and you're like, oh, it's just, And then it became just like the movie. We'd rush home and turn it on, going, I wonder if I got an email.
And we did that for months and months
Yeah.
before.
Still had no idea if I was talking to an actual physical woman or not.
I mean,
That's
no,
the real story. I
I
mean,
take that
And
back.
then when she sent me a picture eventually, like I asked her one day, and she sent me a picture. She's standing like 30 feet away behind a banister, and all I could see was her head with a hat
made
on.
myself look super
So I
tall.
was like, all right, she's either a 12-year-old or she's in a wheelchair, and she doesn't want to show me that she's in a wheelchair. Or she's really a dude, and she just found the most feminine picture. And I'm like, I don't trust
I made
this.
myself look super tall, super thin,
Behind a banister, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, this could go over really badly. And then she's like, come on, visit me. And I'm like, okay,
No, not at home.
come by and visit me at work.
Yeah, in public place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At work.
At work.
And I was in the busiest week of my work. It was race week in Darlington, and I happened to be the Darlington rep for Budweiser at the time. So I didn't have time. But the week after, I had a little bit of a lag, and I thought, well, she's kind of on the way. I'll stop in one day. So I stopped in and said, hey, I'm here to see Dolores.
And my boss is sitting right beside me. And of course, I knew what to look for because I'd
So
seen
you knew
his-
he was coming, though.
Yeah.
So you
no,
had.
no. Did not know he was coming.
Oh, okay.
Did not know he was
I
coming.
kind of knew what she looked like because I knew she had a face, and it was at least this big. But that's all I knew. I had no idea about her hair at the time. She had her hair up in like the lion's mane, full spray kind of deal.
No, I had asked him to stop the week before because my boss was on vacation.
And I drove up in the Budweiser van, and he's like, "We getting a Budweiser ship?"
Yeah, my boss goes, did you negotiate us a whole van full? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Keg.
Yeah.
She threw me out the door. She's
Oh,
like,
he
"Get
come-
out, get out!" And I was like, "Okay, well, screw
He
this
comes
girl."
walking in, and my boss is literally sitting right beside me, showing me something on my desk on my computer. He is like sitting right next to me, and in walks Josh. And of course, I recognize him. He comes walking in, and I'm like
Captain America.
I stuttered. I know I had to have stuttered, and I got him out of that door so fast.
I was thinking, I'm never talking to this girl again. This crazy woman.
It was a little rough there to start off with.
But yeah, it wasn't like eHarmony now is basically what that became, and it was.
So now on eHarmony, whenever you saw each other's profiles, who reached out to who first?
I did.
So was it set up to like email the person or
There was, it was like
or do
a-
you have like a message board you could put stuff
Not
on?
even
I think
that. It
It
was
started
actually
out with you would send random questions with preset answers.
Yep, ahead of time,
Ahead of
and then
time.
their
And then if
engine
you-
would match you with ones that answered similarly.
So
that
if you had
would
like
be
similar
looking
values
for.
or interests or whatever.
Oh,
So like
okay.
you go, the way you go through and you do like the questionnaire of like what kind of values do you have, what kind of things are you looking for in a partner, and then they match you up with different people who might match up with with similar traits where you might like be compatible. And then once you decide to reach out to somebody, and it's been a while, so I can't really remember all the details.
Been about 5 years now.
Yeah, but I think there were like preset questions where you could provide short answers, and then after you went through like 3 cycles of that and decided you still wanted to contact this person, then you could do the full-on emails. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Then we got the emails, and they were nice, long-winded emails that were, for the most part, properly punctuated.
I was eloquent. Thank you. No, I did.
Did you live in the same town?
Yeah.
Did. I was in Raleigh, actually. Had my bachelor pad. I bought my first house in 2012 and was there with my 4-legged furry child, Luna.
I think I talked to you one Christmas, and you were like, I was like, what you up to? You're like, I just bought my first house. I was like, that's awesome. And you're like, yeah, man. He goes, and I got a spare bedroom that I've made into my own server room, and me and my friends are like cyber terrorizing each other so that we can figure out how to break into each other's system, and it's really cool. And I was like, I held the phone and I went, he's the smartest guy I know.
We still have the server room.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's now a bigger closet.
Yeah.
That's really awesome, though. I mean, because at the time, I don't think anybody was really thinking that far ahead, and it wasn't required by your work, but it was like one of those things that you were like, I want to figure out how to do this because I think there's something in this. And then, like, you just took the ball and ran with it. And I was like, I like that kind of passion. I like someone who's like, I got an idea, I want to run with it. I don't know if you could tell I kind of run with.
Well, I mean, he's a kid who worked. He's a kid who worked 2 jobs in high school.
Right, right.
So whenever we met him, he was in high school and working 2 jobs.
Yeah. But yeah, I was not surprised by that at all.
And repairing and doing computer work on the side.
Yep. It was
so
3
basically, it was
by the
3
time I graduated.
Yeah. 3 jobs by the time.
Yep. A little bit on the crazy side when it came to work.
So how is your obsession? We'll call it an obsession.
Sure.
It's healthy, right? Ish. How is your obsession molded into family life now? Have you found a nice, happy balance of, honey, I'm going to go crazy for a little bit, and no?
I think she's absolutely right there.
If you go upstairs and you see the office that he's working out of, we started with 2 monitors.
Yeah.
And now he
What's the
has...
face? What's the
He started with 2.
Take a guess on how many are in there.
12?
Less.
But
that's a goal.
you're very close.
Okay.
That's a goal. I could
he's got...
I could see 12.
His setup, actually, he's got 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and then he's got a laptop over here and a tablet over here. So there are 6, 7, 8 monitors total. Mm-hmm. It looks like mission control up there. I just don't even go in the room.
And they're all connected together with 1 keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And across like 4 different machines.
At the same time, I know
are there
this
separate
is
things
something
going on each
he's
screen,
passionate about.
or are they integrating screens so that you're
All different things.
Okay.
Like I'll have if I'm communicating with my work mates, I'll have it up like on Slack. Up on one of the monitors there. I'll have my work laptop on one of them. I'll have whatever I'm working on in the lab down on one other monitor, and doing a little bit of everything. If I'm researching something, so I don't have to memorize it, I just go look over here and refer to it when I need to.
And what he's not telling you is that during March Madness, 4 of those screens at any given time is playing basketball
That's
games.
healthy-ish,
I need this for work.
Working from home.
It's a nice balance.
I need this for work. Oh, no, you need that for sports. Okay.
1 day a year. When it's actually possible.
1 day?
March Madness lasts for the whole one. It's called March Madness.
I'm on your side. I'm on your side.
When there's 4 games happening simultaneously, which only happens on the Thursday or the Friday during March
And then
Madness.
the rest of the time, there's only 3 monitors going at any given time. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I know that that's something that you're passionate about, so I'll support that.
There you go.
Yeah, at least he's got the one thing.
Yeah.
See, I have just the opposite on my end of the.
What are you talking about?
Well, we have a podcast that started with a laptop and a mic.
It started off with a phone.
It started off with the phone and the laptop.
Well, there's a laptop there and there's a mic there. So that has.
Well, I mean, he started off with the laptop and the phone, sitting at the desk in the office, which was the desk where I sat to pay bills. It's just a little sitting area off from our bedroom. And then it got bigger until he had to build a shelf in that room to put the soundboard. So it was 2 mics. when he had guests, I was like, I really am not crazy about you having guests over in our, because this is a little sitting area off of our bedroom. And so he would move everything out to the dining room table in the kitchen.
Which took about an hour to set up.
I can imagine.
So that was
About an hour to take
aggravating,
down.
I will have to say.
And then if I did it in the kitchen, like everyone in the house had to shut up. There could be no sound because otherwise it all comes across.
See, we
through
have
the
that fancy
microphone.
record. You know, we got our fancy recording sign on the door.
Yeah, I wrote record and I ran out of space up at the
Recording.
ing on the second level. I figured that's perfect for this room.
is awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
That-
anybody who knows me would be like, oh, that fits. Yeah.
Of course, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the red light. You know, I posted outside the door that will be on whenever
a red light.
Now, you see, but so we.
Christmas
So you see how this has
coming.
grown. This went from
LED,
the phone and the
battery,
laptop
maybe.
to where we are today. He's taken over a whole room. He's built, and then
We actually
on top
sat
of that,
in the living room one night, and she's like, "What is your plans with this?" I said, "I'm gonna have a podcast studio in the house," and she goes, "No, you're not." And I was like, "Okay."
I'll take that and file it away for
well,
later.
this room was a kids' room. With kids are gone. We put I put a treadmill and an elliptical machine in here and a TV, and I did use them, but then I joined the gym. I'm the kind of person that I've loved the gym, and these two items were sitting here collecting dust. We didn't actually put clothes on them to dry, but
Yes, we did.
they were sitting here collecting dust, and he just randomly says, "I think I'm gonna get rid of the stuff in the back bedroom," and I was like, "Oh no, well, you know, what if it's raining and I'm training for a race?" And he's like, "You have the gym that you're paying for every month," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, go ahead." I honestly did not think, I don't know why, I did not think he would follow through because he is a follow through kind of person. So everything was gone within a week.
Well,
The elliptical machine and the treadmill.
the catalyst was the job.
Yeah, when my job changed in June, it was like, these things are sitting here. Let's just get rid of them.
We could use the money.
We could use the money. I mean, and we did sell them very quickly. They were both great machines, and they sold quickly. So next thing I know, we have a podcast room, and then the woodworking came in there. And boy, when he goes down a rabbit hole, he goes all the way down the rabbit hole.
I was gonna say, did you make this table?
All of this stuff
And the
in here
chairs.
is, yeah.
That's beautiful.
The only thing
And the
he's not
table in
made
front
is
of
the
you.
2 chairs that y'all are sitting in.
Yeah, those two chairs. I built 2 chairs and put them on Instagram along the way as I was building them. And a guy that I work with reached out to me and he was like, "I want 2 chairs just like that." And kind of the way he phrased it, I was like, "I mean, I can sell you these and make more." And he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so, he bought them.
I'm trying to talk him
So-
into a bench for over there that can nest under this table because we do come in and out of this room.
See, I think that now I'm sort of on the fence now that I see you guys sitting in the chairs because to me the chairs are more comfortable because you can kind of lean back.
You can build a back.
Well,
And
but,
see,
but
I
a
was
bench
kinda
in the back
wanting-
is sort of like if you have 2 people, maybe someone likes to sit closer, someone likes to sit back. And if you have a chair, you can kind of move it wherever you want. But if you have a bench, like we were thinking about it the other day, and I was like, if we have a bench, like you could kind of straddle it if you want, or you could sit on it normal. But also, you're not as comfortable as you are like in a chair where you can sit back comfortably. So I mean, I'm seeing you guys in the chairs, and I'm thinking, maybe chairs are the way to go. Maybe I just make them shorter so they slide under better.
Well, like we use this closet as junky as it is. It is it has the vacuum cleaner in there. It's where I keep wrapping paper and boxes for birthday presents, Christmas presents. We also hang clothes in there to dry, things that you don't throw in the dryer, we hang up in there. So it is a closet that we use. And I really didn't want to have to walk. It's no big deal. Just do whatever.
You gotta be able to get to it.
Do whatever you
We
want to
could get
do.
rid of the dresser in that closet and make that room
Sounds
the
very familiar.
It sounds very
housing of
familiar.
stuff.
I mean, it's
I've said that exact same sentence before.
the push and pull of being
Well, it's all
married.
about compromise. Like
Yeah.
we compromise with each other.
I know what you're about
And
to
you
do.
adapt.
So just do what you want
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, we
Which is a trap.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not always.
I've said all along that
Not all the time.
people are constantly changing whether they realize it or not. And if you're not changing, then why are you alive? Like you have a sort of an obligation to yourself to experience life and get to enjoy life and grow as much as you want to. And if you take up an interest, like maybe running at 47 years old and you want to run, then you go whole hog into it and you embrace it.
Are you
And
saying that I'm one of those kind of people?
listen, 2 birds of a feather, baby, you and
That's
me.
true.
But what was it? I read a thing after I was married the first time. I got a book and it said I got divorced, and I was reading those self-help books because that's what you do when you go through that kind of thing. And then it had a story in there about a couple of ladies who were talking about, oh, I've been married to Tom. I've been married to the same man for 20 years. And her friend goes, well, that's a shame. And she goes, what do you mean? You've been married to him for 20 years? And she goes, yeah, but we're not the same people we were 20 years ago. He's not the same man. I'm not the same woman. We've changed over the years. And, that's true about all of us, whether we realize it or not. If you're the kind of person that's comfortable with being stagnant, then, okay, well, maybe that's the person for you. But I knew that wasn't the kind of person that I wanted to be, nor did I want to be with somebody who was like that. Mm-hmm. And, we're sitting on the couch one night, and she's looking on Facebook at my, my stepmother, who's turning 60, and she's like, I think I'm going to start doing these Couch to 5K programs. And I'm like, what? She goes, Trish can do it. I can do it. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you think I can do it? And I was like, I guess. And she's like, you want to do it with me? No, absolutely not. But you go ahead. Have fun. And she started running. And then, before I knew it, it was turned into half marathons.
No. The first, I went from a 5K to a half, and I was sitting across from you in a restaurant somewhere, and I said, right out of the blue, I think I'm going to run a half marathon. And his exact words, and I think he did it on knowing what it would do to me. He said, you can't do that. And I was like,
there's your motivation.
Watch me. Now, granted, it wasn't pretty, that whole training process and run. I mean, but it was, I think it was his way of saying, I'm fixing to motivate you like you've never been motivated before.
Right. You learn how to kind of.
Sounds like your story's running half.
Yeah.
Well, when I graduated from school, I was very much overweight. So I was working hard and trying to lose the weight while I was trying to work the full-time job. And my sister was actually my biggest supporter. And I told her, like, hey, I've lost all this weight. I feel really good. But I was like, I was walking. Mm-hmm. I wasn't running. Mm-hmm. I had always told myself, I will never be a runner. That sounds terrible. It's hard. You get all sweaty and gross. And I just, so when I lost like 50 pounds, 75, somewhere in there, I'd lost quite a bit of weight. And she like calls me one day and she's like, hey, guess what? What? I signed us up for a half marathon. You did what now?
Wow.
Yeah, it's in March. And this was like in November, I think. So she was like, so it's on this day and we're going to do it together and it's going to be great. And my sister is one of these like very outgoing, very peppy, very positive kind of people. So many P's in that sentence.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
So you took the challenge and you were like...
I took the challenge and I completed my first half marathon.
Wow.
And then the next year I actually wound up enjoying it so much that I actually did it again the next year.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then I met Jeff.
And that all went downhill.
Yeah.
Partially true.
Well, it's definitely something that you have to be very dedicated to it in order to train. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people out there that are that cannot train at all and go do a half. Mm-hmm. They probably won't be able to walk well the next day because no matter how good a shape you're in, it's going to make you sore.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of training that if you train properly that goes into that. Whenever I started, I never realized that it would take 13, 14, 15 weeks in order to not hurt yourself the day of the race.
Right. It was one of those things where like you signed us up for a half marathon. You didn't sign us up for like a 5K. Yeah. No, I went for the whole thing. I'm like, okay. So then that was how I started.
Work backwards.
Yeah. Start running a little bit at a time. And then you extend, and actually training and researching and figuring out what I needed to do in order to finish. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't very fast.
Oh, I'm the same way. I was never fast. I'm not a fast runner.
Yeah.
Even the halves that I've done, I did not run all 13.1 miles. And mind you, I have never done a full. Mm-hmm. There was a time whenever I thought about it, but that's gone. That's gone. That's gone.
Well, see, I ran in the Marine Corps, and when she was like, let's go running, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was work.
Yeah, Josh told me when we married, he was like,
and she was like, running. I think I could enjoy this. And I was like, you are crazy.
Josh told me whenever we married or when we met, no, I don't run and I don't camp. And I was like, well, we got the camp. At that time, I was the same way. I had never. I took what bare minimum of PE that you had to take in school. and that was it for me. And running was never something that I did, and like I didn't even start until I was 40,
our whole time dating
47.
and being married up to that point, she'd never been like, I think I'm going to go work out. Like that wasn't a conversation that happened. Even though she told me that in the past she lifted weights.
Yeah, I've been.
But I was like,
physically, but I've always stayed in the gym. I did have some weight problems because I'm 4'11". My weight fluctuates terribly. And whenever you're very short, it doesn't take but a pound or two, and it looks like 10 or 15, 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. But I've always been physical in the sense that trying to stay in shape, but I've never, ever been a runner, ever. I would do more of the elliptical machine type stuff. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, something just, like I say, meeting my mother-in-law, and she's in great shape. I mean, just killer shape.
She didn't start until she was 60 doing her first 5K because she had a daughter who ran cross country. Oh, and her daughter wanted to do a 5K fun run thing.
Granddaughter.
Yeah, granddaughter. Yeah, she wanted to do a 5K fundraiser thing, and she's like, would you do it with me? And she was like, I can give it a shot. And she did it, and she liked it, and she had a good time. And it turned into a thing that she did with her granddaughters and with her daughter. And they started doing it as like a group thing. And Dolores was watching these things on Facebook of them doing it, and she was like, I think I want to try this. And the crazy part is fast forward 10 years, and Trish is 70 years old, and she posts that she's got her fastest time ever doing a 5K, just running for fun.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And Dolores is like, are you freaking kidding me? She's 70, and she posts a better time than me.
There's some motivation right there.
Yeah. There you go.
She's like, what do I got to do? I need roller skates or something to keep up with her.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That is a person who is living their best life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Taking every opportunity to go, how can I make myself better? Or what can I do to enjoy this life? Because, there's no guarantees. So, what do you want out of it? What do you want to see? What do you want to do? What do you want to, make of yourself, and just embrace it and go after it.
Well, I think the way we got started on this topic was the fact that you have to realize that you change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our household now, it's just the two of us for the most part, knock on wood, whenever one kid doesn't live here. But we had the years where, and you guys will go through this whenever you start having children. I come home, I picked up kids from school, I came straight home. I did dinner. I made sure people were doing homework. I started a load of clothes. Josh would come in from working all day. We would sit down to eat our dinner. I would continue to send kids off to get baths, to get homework finished, making sure that nobody was killing anybody because we had 3 boys, finishing up loads of clothes, and then falling in the bed at 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night just to get back up and do that all over again.
Yeah, it really becomes a cycle of just survival for a while. Mm-hmm. And there's things that you learn along the way, things to help each other, to motivate each other, to keep each other afloat. But kids are a constant challenge. There's always something that comes up that you think, I should have handled that different. And we used to talk about how any of the parents that we met online or in person that were like, I'm the best mom. You're like, you're not involved. Mm-hmm. If you're claiming you're the best, because people who are doing the work constantly sit there and reflect and go,
I'm failing.
I didn't do that right. I didn't do this right. I didn't do this right. I didn't do this right. And then at a certain point, they make it in life, or hopefully make it, and they go, hey, thanks for all that effort, or for paying attention or being involved or whatever. And you're like, oh, maybe I did do some of it right. I hope I did.
But our lives are so...
But you constantly question that kind of stuff, no matter what. Yeah. But,
And we live so differently now in the sense that I don't cook, ever. Mm. And I never cooked. I cooked every single meal. Being a family of 5 with 3 boys, we didn't eat out very much. It was too expensive. Mm-hmm. So I cooked every meal. On weekends, 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
And now I don't cook at all. Started the gym. Now I don't miss the gym. If something comes up and makes me miss the gym, I get
upset, right?
Ticked off.
Yep.
And Josh was like, I can't wait until gym classes are over. 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30, you come rolling in the house and there's no dinner. So, well, cook. And that's, and like I said, we've completely switched roles when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an evolving. You have to
accept and embrace the change,
right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And if I work with a lot of people now that are starting their families and they're having kids and that kind of stuff. And they're like, you got any advice? And I'm like, yeah. When they get old enough to have their own computers and stuff, don't give them one. Make them share. Make them share where you can see it. Like, have it in one room if need be. If they want a gaming system, make them share the gaming system. Separate that from their sleeping area so that they get to, have playtime, but it's not involved with their sleep time. And you can regulate it better that way. And I'm like, that's my piece of advice. I mean, we didn't do that, but it would have been better if we did.
Oh, I mean, it's a totally different time now where the internet is on literally things, like everyday things, a phone that's in your hand. I mean, I think about my nieces, honestly. They all have their own cell phone. And how do you really know what's really happening on each one of them?
Yeah, especially with things like cyberbullying now. I mean, just recently, we were watching TV the other night, and I think for some reason we were watching regular TV. There was a commercial for the Portal camera by Facebook and WhatsApp, and they're advertising it with Muppets having kids, interface with each other with supposedly their grandparents. In this case, it was a Muppet telling them an itsy bitsy story before they go to bed. But I'm like, this is really creepy. Like right away, you're telling people, oh, it's not enough that we have Alexa in your room listening to every conversation, but now we want a camera just pointed at you at all times because we're going to sell it to you as a really good idea. But meanwhile, we can just watch you anytime we want.
And you never know when a hacker's
and you never know when someone's going to hack into it. Right. And I was like, this is super creepy. But they're selling it as, oh, no, this will be fun because your kids can. I was like, whoa, time out. Like, let's put the brakes on this. I mean, really, there's a certain point where you got to back away and go, maybe this isn't the best thing to have like everywhere.
Yep.
So anyway.
But I mean, your children will never know a time when they couldn't take as many pictures as they wanted to get the exact look that they want, and then be able to run filters on that to make themselves look the way they want. Well,
not only that, but because of the digital world that they're going to live in, the cloud is going to be something they understand right away, and there's going to be a weird designation of they're going to find it difficult to tell reality from fake. Because virtual reality is so advanced now and is exponentially growing as they advance AI. It's by the time you guys have kids and they start understanding what the internet is, it's going to be something completely different than it is now by leaps and bounds.
If you just look at how fast, in 20 years with you guys.
Yeah,
right,
and just exponentially. I mean, it's so sped up now. Everything is sped up. Everything is like...
I got a 3-year-old grandson that's had a tablet. Well, matter of fact, we're the ones that gave it to him for his 2nd birthday to watch YouTube videos on. The little kitty kids. YouTube videos that he absolutely loves. So, I mean, that's the difference.
But he's learning how to navigate it. And it's like...
Oh, he already knows the scrolling thing. I mean, he knows that just... It's second. It doesn't even. I mean, he doesn't have to even think about it. He just automatically knows.
I got a guy that I work with who's he's got some kind of little like a learning. It's a learning based game thing that's got like preloaded software on. The kid has already learned how to hack it, and he's got like YouTube videos watching it on it. And his dad's like, "This thing's not even supposed to have the internet. How did you get this on here?" Like the kid figured it out himself, and he's got all this stuff on there, and he's like, this is like a preloaded software game thing. How did you access the internet, and how did you get YouTube on it? The kid's like 4.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's crazy. He's like, my kid is like so intelligent.
And I can remember years ago with the old PC sitting in the office thinking that my kid was like Einstein because he was 4 years old and could click a mouse. Thinking, oh my gosh, the little kindergarten like ABCs and things like that. Jackson, our grandson, is 3 and already knows all the alphabet. He knows a capital A and what he calls a baby A. He knows capital and small letters. He knows the days of the week. He knows the months. He knows all the colors. He knows all of his numbers. And he's 3. And I can remember thinking that my kid was a genius because he knew how to
click a mouse.
Click a mouse. Obviously, he's not. But that's another whole story. It's just I can't even imagine when you guys have kids.
Well, not only that, but like.
And yours is going to be exposed to multiple screens. Your kid's not even going to know what having one monitor. One monitor is going to be.
That office, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, like Jeff texted me and he said, hey, by the way, can Justine be on it? She wants to talk about, she's got like a project on the side. You're an attorney, a blogger, a freelance writer, and you have a website, carolinawordsmith.com.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Wow.
whoa. Time out. That's a lot of things going on for one person. And you put Jeff together. Their kid is going to be like the leader of the new world or something.
I know, right?
He's going to be like,
You're
listen to me,
welcome,
people.
everyone.
I mean, there used to be video games where you could like design like football players and like mom's a gymnast, dad played football. And you're like, oh, that's going to be a good, kid. And then but you take genetics of like, super smart, super creative people who think outside the box and constantly adapt and overcome. And you go, okay, got to keep an eye on this kid. Yeah, it's going to be some interesting challenges.
Again, Jeff works in cybersecurity, so hopefully, knock on wood, like you were saying, Dolores, the kids, our children will never know a world where they can't take 50 million photographs in order to
Right.
get just the right look. And the nice thing, or hopefully what I'm hoping, is that our kid will also never know a time when Jeff does not have eyeballs on
Yeah,
their phone
that's
all
true.
kinds of
And whether
controls.
it is their individual phone, I still
Yeah.
know what's happening behind it just because I'm staying up to date on hacking.
So
This kid won't
yeah.
have a mobile. You know how you have the mobile that hangs
Yeah.
over? This kid, their kid will not have a mobile that hangs over.
He'll
It'll
have
a
screens by then, and it'll be over there.
He'll have screens over. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it sounds like a dream to me, but
Maybe it'll be a linguist, and it'll have like all kinds of different languages posting at the same time, so he can learn multiple languages. And he's like, oh, I understand that one now. Okay, there's that one.
He'll be speaking 5 languages by the time he's 5. We teach him a different language
The
every year.
Matrix
There
is
you
going
go.
by in the corner, and he's like, oh, I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Neo's the one, obviously. Duh.
that's the one.
How could we ever have thought anything else?
But that would definitely be the way to go as far as languages. Make sure that they're
Well, nowadays you don't
bilingual.
even have to have that with the new Google technology. You put the earphones in your ear,
It's
and
like auto-translated.
it auto
Yeah.
translates. It's incredible. It's
It helps me a lot when I'm working with my Israeli colleagues.
I
Speak
bet.
Hebrew.
I bet. So
Speak Hebrew.
Who? Tom does.
Tom does, but you don't.
No, clearly I don't.
But the-
Sometimes they'll
the ear
say
thing.
something, and if I hear it audibly,
Oh,
I'll try to
okay.
translate what's happening.
Yeah, I had a customer in Myrtle Beach that would text me occasionally in Hebrew, and I'd be like, "You have to change your text," and he would, "Oh, sorry," and he would text back and, "Sorry, have to change it over."
yeah. But I mean, so like, attorney could be anything. What area of expertise do you have?
Okay. I currently work for a real estate law firm in North Carolina.
Okay.
So I deal with residential real estate, helping people buy their houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Generally, yeah. So my interest was originally in criminal law. I went to law school thinking that my life was going to be like, I'm going to be on Law and Order. Yeah, totally. Put the bad guys in jail. And then I did an internship with the district attorney's office. And I was like, no, we are not doing this.
Yeah.
No, thank you. And so I'm good at speaking in small groups or in one-on-one settings. I am not comfortable actually in a courtroom, which is something that I wish I had figured out before I had gone through 3 years of law school and gone through all of that stuff. But when you're doing residential real estate transactions, specifically in the state of North Carolina, which is where I'm licensed, it's a small setting.
Yeah.
You've got like maybe 3-5 people in a room. We talk about, here's your new house. This is what you can expect. These are the things that you need to do with your mortgage. And generally speaking, people are happy to be buying a house.
Do you do the closings?
Yes.
Okay, closings.
Yeah, so we do the real estate closings.
Is part of that like you have to have a sort of an economics background as well?
No.
Or you're just handling the paperwork of this
Yeah,
is
so-
legalities of what we have to do to
Exactly.
make sure everything is transitioned the right way.
Exactly. We're
Okay.
handling like the paperwork and making sure that there are no outstanding liens on title. So like any mortgages from like previous owners, those all need to be paid off and that kind of thing,
Okay.
so that you're not stuck holding the bag for somebody else's mortgage or other liens.
Now, your freelance writing, what are you interested in writing about? Or is there a certain topic or genre? Or
It's interesting how Legal Match came into play with your legal background.
Oh yeah, well I do articles for a website called Legal Match.
okay,
So basically what Legal Match is if you have a legal situation that you are looking for help with, this company will match you with attorneys in your area, local attorneys who practice in specific areas. So like if you're having an issue where you've been in a car accident and you're not sure who to contact,
Hey, you don't have to call a
you don't have to like go through. Yeah,
That's good.
don't call a
He's not an advertiser. No.
No, not at all. It's great at marketing.
Yeah. Genius.
But like they'll match you up with like a list of attorneys who are in your area who could help you with that kind of an issue.
Okay.
And part of their website
that-
is they have like this what they call their legal library. So like if you have questions, you can like search it on their website and
Like my neighbor's tree fell over into my yard. Whose
So what can I do about
Okay.
that, or what
Is
kind
that
of
a
responsibility
nationwide-
do I have?
Is that like a nationwide?
And it's
website?
called
they're
legal-
they're nationwide.
So legalmatch.com?
It's called
Legal
legalmatch.com.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep, and I do their I
So you
work
do, like,
on
some consulting for them or little freelance work?
I do some freelance writing work. So basically, I'm writing some of the articles in their law library where I'm kind of giving basic ideas of what the rules are. And of course, rules vary from state to state. So you want to consult with a local attorney who knows the rules in your state specifically.
Cool.
Yeah. So I've been working with them and helping them
Is
fill
that
out
like
their
a
law
side
library.
job? Is it like on a pay system or is it
Yeah,
like a
so
free deal?
it's paid per article.
Okay.
So I mean, it's peanuts, but it's something on the
Yeah.
side that, and I enjoy doing it. I've always loved words. I love writing, so and I have that legal background, so it's something that I can plug into.
Now your website,
Yes,
Carolina Wordsmiths.
yes,
What is that about?
that is a
Is
platform.
that tied into everything that you're?
That's the platform for the freelance writing. So
Okay.
a lot of the article or a lot of the posts that I've been doing on the blog on that website, I've been talking about technology, but making it more user friendly for the average person.
Okay.
So like Jeff is all of the high flying, really technical, really complicated stuff.
Right.
Whereas what I'm trying to do is trying to break it down for people who are less technical like me and making it a little bit more accessible.
Okay.
Things like, you want to make sure that you change your passwords on a regular basis. You want to make sure that you're not clicking on suspicious links and phishing emails. And a lot of times when you've got like busy people, like one of my best friends has 3 kids and she is constantly like on the go. She's not necessarily thinking, oh, I have a link here that says that I need to click here and change my password. Like don't do that. Go to the website.
Yeah.
Or call your bank, and double check because I know you're busy, but that's what these people are counting on. They're counting on you to be
Well,
busy and
not only that,
not
but,
paying
like,
attention.
Like not only that, but also social media sending you
yeah.
it's like a fake social media thing saying
Fake
your
social
account's been
media
compromised.
accounts.
Click here to reset your password, and it's
Yeah.
like it could be resetting your password, but it's also just giving them access to everything you have.
Oh yeah, they're
But
resetting it
most
to
people don't
something
know
that
that.
they can use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get that kind of email, I want everybody to listen and to understand that. If you get that kind of email,
Don't click it.
don't click whatever they say. Click here, don't click there. Go on your computer on your website and go from there to do the steps that you need to take.
No matter how legitimate it looks, because
Yeah.
a lot of these guys will like copy and paste the logo of your bank or your
Yes.
or whatever the company is, and they will make it look really legitimate. Always better, don't go through the email, go directly to the website that you know and trust.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a tried and true method.
good point.
That way
So do
going.
you have to ask like if you're talking about your work with each other, Justine? Do you have to ask Jeff sometime?
There have been a couple
can you
of
explain that
times-
where I can
There
where I
have
can
been a couple of
understand it?
times where I've said like, "Hey, can you read this and make sure what I'm saying is correct?" Because I don't want to mislead people. So I've got my consultant.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure there's questions that once in a while come across and you're like, okay, I don't get this. Explain this.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, she's
the heck
written
am I looking at?
some professional technical articles as well that I helped her on the technical side of it.
Yeah.
Actually, you want to talk more about that?
Well,
That magazine?
oh, the magazine article. So I recently published an article in the magazine, the quarterly for the. Let's see, I'm trying to remember what they're called. They're called the IVAM, the International Association of Venue Managers.
So think of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the larger football stadiums that are out there. All these large event manufacturers or event management companies, all work together in a sense, and they also have a magazine that they send out quarterly that has different articles. And she was one of the
And I was one of the
cybersecurity articles that she wrote
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
on
Yeah.
ransomware specifically.
Yeah, so I talked about ransomware and viruses, and was part of their technical
What is ransomware?
issue.
Like, I'll release this if you don't pay me money kind of deal.
Actually,
Basically,
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
Basically,
what it is,
they'll
what it
lock
sounds
down
like.
your computer and demand ransom.
Oh, that kind of ransom. Oh, I was
Yeah.
thinking more like you posted a picture on your phone and we got access to it, and that happened recently with Whitney Cummings. She had apparently taken a photo while she was in the bathtub and didn't realize that she had a picture of her nipple in the picture.
Oops.
And someone contacted her and says, "We have your picture and we're going to release it if you don't pay us money." And she was like, "Screw you!" And she just put it online. She was like, "Here's my nipple. Like, I could care less about that. I've had it done. It looks great." But she's like,
That
"I was more
sounds
upset."
more like blackmail.
It was
than
blackmail,
ransomware.
but to me it's like ransom because they're like, you know,
Yeah.
you better pay us. And she was like, "I don't care." Like she said, "I'm more upset about the fact that my face looked awful in the picture than you see in my boob. Like I could care less." You know, and I follow these comedians and their different podcasts, and I listen to them talk about this kind of stuff. And Bert Kreischer's one of her buddies, and he wanted to show support, so he posted a picture to her. Hey, I blew out a testicle back in 19 whatever, and here's a picture of it. I don't care if anybody knows it either. I support you. And she was like, "That's what I'm calling solidarity, brother." She goes, "Oh, also, by the way, you should have a doctor look at that." And he was like, "Yeah, it has been. It's all good now." But he goes, "I'm not sure if I just Me Too'd you or supported you." He's like, "I'm trying to help." And she was like, No, I get it. Thank you.
All right then.
But yeah, so
Good stuff.
all right.
I don't know that I understand what ransomware is.
I'll give you a brief explanation. So it's basically an attack that could come from email, could come from multiple places, where it runs on your machine and it finds all of your pictures, it finds all of your documents and encrypts them with a key that you're not going to be able to decipher. Talks back out to the internet, sends it back to the attacker's command and control computer, whatever it may be, where they have a set of a key, but you have a public key on your side and you need these two keys to unlock them. They are holding one of the keys ransom. Says if you want your access to your files, you need to give me this key, and also you have to give me X amount in Bitcoin or whatever it may be.
So if you were like
in order
a
to
big
get access
deal
to your
in
files.
the world and they wanted to access your stuff and like basically bribe you, they lock you out of your own stuff and they say, you can't have access to it unless you pay us.
Yep.
Who would that happen? I mean,
Not
give
to
me some
us.
examples of who.
It wouldn't happen
who,
to us.
I know that.
Well, I mean,
I know-
they've done it to like big companies and corporations, but even like the editor of the magazine, the guy that I contacted, the editor, he actually had it happen to him
Wow.
on a personal level, where like they had taken all of the photos, and his wife had passed away like a few months before, so all of the photos that he had of his wife, they were lost unless.
There was a cybersecurity company that used to advertise on TV where the guy would say, "I feel so good about our security. Here's my social security number." And within like a week, he
Bad
they
idea.
attacked him.
That's just inviting trouble.
Yeah. It was like, oh, that didn't work at all. Oh, I really should have thought that through.
Nobody's ever truly secure.
Nope.
Yeah.
The
So even no matter going through, VPNs and stuff like that, like there's still ways around that kind of stuff, right?
if you have the right attacker with the right mindset who can, and it's kind of thing like the theme of the conversation today is about change.
Yeah.
And being able to pivot, if they can move around and try to circumvent whatever solution you have in place and they're that driven, it's going to happen.
To me, having a password on everything is sort of like locking the door on your car. If someone wants to break in, they'll break in.
Mm-hmm.
That
But
doesn't
you're-
mean you have to make it easy for
But you're
them.
locking the door to keep honest people honest.
Yep.
I mean, if you make it easy, they're just gonna be like, "Hey, it wasn't here," But if you put a lock on it, it's sort of like someone has to
Deterrent,
really
as
want
we
to
call
get in
in
it.
the security industry.
It gives more focused intent, I think. And then you look at the criminal aspect of it and you go, okay, now you're going across extra steps here. And dealing with that, like, have you done a lot with law firms talking about, people breaking into your systems and going after them legally? Is there like you're in real estate law, is there a whole cyber law division that's like, oh, we need to attack this person or need to go after this person for this reason?
It's a pretty big gray area.
Yeah, I don't know that the law has really caught up with the technology on that aspect. It's still in many areas being prosecuted as a criminal offense and not necessarily as a cyber
Like cyber
law.
terrorism
Yeah.
or yeah. Mm.
So that they're adapting existing laws to accommodate certain aspects of the technology. Like we mentioned cyberbullying briefly earlier. Like those are completely new laws that are on the books in order to try to keep up with what's going on in our society digitally. Like 10 years ago, you didn't have this kind of a thing. going on, but now all of a sudden it's become a thing.
Well, and to me, like I watched the 13 Reasons Why, where there's bullying going on, not only cyber but also in school, and all the abuse that happened, outside of that. It's terrifying to think about, but also you see examples of it on a regular basis in day-to-day life, and these kids are going through all kinds of crazy scenarios, and to me, the only way to really fight that, you can't. You can limit them as much as you can on the internet, but really the only way to fight that is to be more involved in their everyday life and to have like a sense of who you are outside of the internet, which is very difficult to do nowadays. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the hardest challenge, I think, in future generations. Is like, no, this is not real. This is the internet. This is some made up crap, and it's going to seem like it's all encompassing. But I need you to know who you are and that you're important, and this is what matters, and none of this other crap matters. But it's going to be hard to get that across to younger kids as they get older because it's going to be all encompassing. Mm-hmm. I got to do it for the likes.
Well, more and more stuff, our everyday life. It is all focused. It's all built around this. I can open and close my garage door with this. Mm-hmm. I can turn on lights in my house with this. I can transfer money from my savings to my checking. I can pay my bills all from here and talk to every member in my family with one text message and get multiple people. So, every last single thing we do, I know. And I'm 55 years old, and I know that my whole world revolves. You let this thing shut down, and I freak out.
Because your entire life is on your phone.
And also, too, my work email is
like
on this
funnel.
phone.
Yeah.
It's the funnel. It's the pivoting point of your funnel of life. All focuses right through that device.
I remember, like I say, my work email is on here, so it is a big thing. I'm not sitting in front of a computer all day. I'm in the car going from place to place. Mm-hmm. So I rely heavily on this phone to keep me up to date with things inside my company that's going on. I remember this maybe last year. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was late. I read Kindle. I don't even own books anymore. I download things on Kindle and read, and I'm an avid reader, but I love downloading stuff on there. Mm-hmm. I think I was laying on the couch reading, and my phone just decided to completely freeze up. There was nothing I could do to get it. I think Josh had already gone to bed. This was like maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night. I thought I was going to hyperventilate because I thought it was, I was like, this is my whole life is on this phone. And until I could get to Verizon the next morning.
Yeah, you were dead in the water.
Yeah, I was dead in the water. I felt absolutely helpless. And I was like, I think I was sitting in the kitchen. And his comment, we have to wait for them to open. Number one, they don't open until 10. He was like, why are you wigging out? I was like, I don't even know what the temperature is outside. And I know I was just panicking. And he was like, walk outside. And I was like, that's when it really hit me that we are, as a society, it is all about the almighty phone anymore. And what we can, that our whole lives is running from this thing now.
Which I think is kind of why
it's kind of sad.
It's kind of why I embraced doing this work. Mm-hmm. When I went to visit my buddy Greg, and his mom was starting to do some woodworking while they were building a house. She had stacks of this wood in the corner, and she's like showing me these pieces that she was working on and some furniture she built. And something about it made me go, hey, wait, that's tangible. That's something I can touch. That's something I can mold. That's something I can manipulate. That's something that if I spend enough time with it, I can make something out of it. That, the crap that I do on the internet, none of this could matter.
Yeah,
it could all disappear
for the most part.
Yeah, someone could hit delete and it's gone. Mm-hmm. But if I build something,
I can't delete this
tangible that people can touch and feel, and maybe it would matter more to me and maybe matter more to the world that I might leave this behind to someone who goes, wow, this is really pretty, whatever. But I know it's kind of a stretch for this conversation, but still, it's that idea of, what is real and what isn't. The stuff that we do on the internet, while it affects everything we do, at the end of the day, you can't cuddle up to it. It's not going to tell you that it loves you. It's not going to, console you, even though you may find cat videos that you go, oh, look at kitty,
I do love cat videos.
But
there are strange people in Japan that have made robots that will do that. But anyway.
It's a whole new market.
I digress.
Yeah, that's for generations to come to deal with, I think. I don't know, though. It's
Although there are
advancing.
times when I'm sure you wish I had an off button, and I wish you had an off button.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a delight.
Yes, you are, dear. Yes, you are.
I will admit
It is just part. I mean, it's.
I will admit that I am messy sometimes. So, and I know you're a clean freak, so that
No, it's
scratches.
not. It is what it is.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Like I say, you learn to live with it, right?
That's right.
I look at it as it could be worse. I mean, at least he's not out spending money gambling or doing scratch-off tickets or sitting in a bar every evening or every weekend. He's out there in the garage making a mess. So just don't come in the house like that.
There you go.
If you do, strip when you get to the door and go to the
Exactly.
See, you know the routine.
Yeah. See there.
There it is.
You undress at the back door close the garage door because you really don't want to do that to the neighbors, you know. But don't you even come in this house. You take your clothes off on the
Howdy, neighbor.
Remember, y'all first bought this house. You were so isolated. Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has really grown up. Hadn't it? 'Cause
We
you
spent a
hadn't
lot
been
of years
out
where there was nothing out
Yeah.
here. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I think when Otis Elevator moved around the corner, like 30 houses suddenly were being built. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, well, we built here in 2007, and then the housing market kind of tanked.
Right. right
So
after.
for a long time, maybe 7 houses was all that was out here for several years. Do you remember coming here one evening? I think my parents were here visiting, so it had to have been a holiday, I think. You had a car that did the parallel parking thing. My mom
Focus.
still to this day remembers that car.
I had that 2012 Ford Focus.
Yeah.
And so it would have been, I guess, that year because the car was brand new.
Yep. Mhm.
And we all stood outside
And watched it park
and watched the
itself.
thing parallel park itself. My mom still talks about that car parking itself.
We actually test drove a vehicle before she bought the Murano.
Mm-hmm.
We test drove a Cadillac SUV that did the self-parking thing, and we were like, let's try it out. And when it did it, we were like, oh, this is so cool. But yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I'm amazed at the way things are advancing, and especially when I go back and I watch old YouTube videos, because in a way, YouTube for me has become like a photo album of our life.
Yeah, it's like nostalgia. So
Yeah, because you have not only audio but video. I've got a stack of VHS tapes over there that I was gifted from my dad. The problem is there's no VHS players, so I bought one on
We've
eBay.
tried ordering, and we can't get any here that actually work.
I bought one on eBay, and it played the video one time, and then it wanted to eat the tape, and I had to break the VCR to get the tape out.
Oh, no.
The weird thing is I'm watching the video, and I realize that it's me visiting my dad, and I'm 15 years old, because I know that where they were, what the time, and it's got a little date stamp on the thing. And at a certain point, like, I'm videoing everybody else, but I'm watching it, and I'm going, wait, if I do the math, like, I'm older now than my dad was in this video. And at a certain point, I turn the camera around to my own face, and it looks just like Jacob. I look just like my youngest boy. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's my boy.
What would be the
but
best
it's me.
way to get those? We need to try. We want to try to salvage as much of that as we possibly can.
try to convert them to modern media standards if you can. I mean, matter of fact, my uncle back in the day when they had old. It wasn't the 8-track, but it was some sort of. It was actually film. He actually had a legit film camera.
Yeah.
Same thing that they took the old
Bell and Howell film.
Like a Bell and my dad has some of the
back in
Bell and Howell.
1960s, 70s. He actually took it and projected it onto a box and had and basically created like a little like shelf around it to try to make it look like it was the real thing, and then recorded it with VHS and DVD and created a DVD out of it at the time.
Okay.
But as far as now for the VHS and the DVD stuff, find somebody who has a working VHS and DVD.
That's
player.
the hard part.
My parents still
That's-
do. They still have a couple of them at least, and they actually bought one because they knew eventually they're going to be obsolete and they're not going to be able to play anything on VHS.
Can you
Try to
still
convert.
buy them? Like Josh bought.
I haven't tried, honestly.
He bought. He purchased one off of eBay with the intention of watching this content to see what was there, and then trying to figure out how we could get a good portion of that content. We don't have to have all of that content over to digital. First thing he wanted to do was view and see what was there. We ordered a VHS machine.
VCR.
It came. The box was beat up terribly. It worked for just a little bit. Then it started eating the film, eating the tape. So you had to take it apart. Then a friend, I think, loaned you one, and he said, I've got one. Yeah, I'm not using it, of course. You can use it. Just take it and use it as long as you need it. It didn't work.
I plugged it up, nothing happened, and I was like, it looked like it played fine, like the tape was moving, everything seemed like it was supposed to be going the right way, but it just nothing worked.
Yeah, so far we've
And I was like, okay, well that's
not been able to
not
see a
working
lot
at
of
all.
that.
It's 0 for 2 so far.
Yeah.
So I mean,
But-
we're not really not sure where to go. Which route to go.
There's
next.
a company, like I've heard Bert talk about it because he did that with some old videos. There's a company that advertises, I think it's called Legacy Box or something like that, and you mail them your stuff and they digitalize all of it for you.
Okay.
But I can only imagine that it's pretty pricey. And I thought, well, if this is something I could do myself, why don't I just, I mean, I've always taken the mentality of if it just takes me doing it, I'll do it. Like, I can learn in the process. I can make videos about it. I mean, it could be something that could be educational for other people to do. But then if it's a thing of technology not even being around, then it's like, what am I doing this for? Like, really? Because I'm doing all this legwork and getting nothing from it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that's 2 full boxes of VHS tapes. We don't need all of that content digital, but there's a lot of it I would like to I'd like to be able to view it first.
Yeah, it'll help you sift
so
through
that
it,
we
and
could
when you
see.
do send it off.
Right, exactly, because his grandparents were, that was back when the old camera set up on your shoulder.
Shoulder-mounted,
and
yeah.
his granddaddy recorded everything. I mean, he was always the one with the camera.
Yeah, when Draven was born, they came to visit me, and there's video over there of them coming to visit when he was a baby, and I would have been 20. It would be weird to see that video of us.
I would like to be able to pick out what we could. I don't want to just send all of that to a company and say.
I know they came at
put
my
all
16,
this on digital.
when I turned 16, they came to my birthday party, and I had broken my fist over a girl, and I had my fist in a cast, but I wanted to go swimming. We had an above-ground pool, and my mom's like, as long as you hold it above the water. So I'm in this pool swimming
wow.
with my arm in a cast, swimming like this, and playing with my friends, and they're filming me, and it's freezing cold. But I thought, that'd be pretty fun to see again, but it's on those videos. I just got to figure out how to watch them. But
figure out which videos we actually want to convert over to digital.
Yeah, and maybe the thing to do would be because I bought a converter, but the box, to me, it records on something called AV1, and AV1 doesn't want to transfer over to the computer. So I may end up just playing it and then recording it with a camera and then moving it over. I mean, I may end up basically...
Yeah, it's honestly not something I've looked into in depth, but it's something I probably end up will, because my parents have lots of home movies of me growing up as well. My dad was the shoulder-mounted camera guy, so the problem's going to come up at some point. So why not?
When you record all that stuff, you think, I'll look back at this one day, and you really don't. Yeah. But maybe at some point you do. Maybe at some point you look back. Like the video that I did get to watch, there is a good probably hours worth of a parade that I filmed. It's got the year, it's got the location. I recorded it really well. I didn't realize I was that good of recording stuff, but who knows who could have been in that parade that they get to, if I put it on YouTube and tag it and be like, hey, 1989 Lobster Day Parade, Rockland, Maine. Someone could have been in that parade and they go, oh my God, look, there I am. There's my dad driving. Oh my, but nostalgia wise, it could be helpful to somebody who maybe was in the parade. Be able to look back and go, oh my God, I can't believe somebody actually got this on film. This is great. Who knows?
Of course, the odd thing is 20 years from now, number one, I'll be super old, but you guys will be trying to figure out remember all those videos we have uploaded to the cloud? How are we going to get those on this, whatever the new thing is? Because it changes so quickly.
That's the crazy part is, what is the new thing? And it kind of melts my noodle even thinking about it, because everything I hear, is talking about wetware and being tapped in all the time. And it's like, is that the singularity? Is that the thing that's going to supposedly connect us? Or is that the thing that's going to make us obsolete? It's kind of freaky to think about.
Eventually there'll be a computer in our heads that's watching everything we see out of our eyes. Who knows?
Well, there's an opinion that we'll be able to communicate.
It called what?
Google Glass.
Yeah.
That was an interesting project.
Yeah.
There's an interesting idea that maybe we'll be able to communicate without words at some point, because we'll be tapped into each other through.
I do not want to know what you're thinking.
Some kind of neural net. No, you don't.
I do not.
I don't even want to know what I'm thinking sometimes.
I do not want to know what you're thinking.
Why is that?
Because it's just funny. Because you make out like my brain never turns. You're up on a Saturday morning at 4 a.m. and I get up at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm like, "What you doing?" Oh, couldn't sleep. Why? What time did you get up? 4. Why couldn't you sleep?
It's a Saturday. Why are you up at 4?
Why are you up at 4? Things going on in my head. I'm like,
I got bees.
yeah. I'm like, can't you turn those bees off?
Well, and it's hereditary. I've noticed my dad is like that, and so is my mom in a lot of ways. But like, my dad will come home and or come to visit with Trish, and I said, "What have you learned?" She goes, "I've learned that over the years, if he's quiet, that means he's fixing 20 different things in his brain, and I just need to leave him alone. And at some point, he'll come up and he'll fix whatever it is that was broken that I've forgotten about. He'll just come out of the blue and it'll be fixed."
Battery?
What are you beeping about? Oh yeah, the battery.
Maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and making
Oh, it is. Oh yeah, we've been on for an hour and a half.
and making tens of dollars on.
Tens of dollars.
Tens of dollars.
That's our running joke. Josh makes tens of dollars with
I saw that in an advertisement
with his YouTube.
Dad plays a banjo, and he sent me an advertisement of, "You learn to play the banjo, you too can make tens of dollars." And I was like,
That's our running joke.
That's hilarious.
With his YouTube channel, he makes tens of dollars.
"Yeah,
He can't quit his day job.
no," but like the goal of that was.
But his goal is to quit his day job.
It could happen one day.
Well, I'm going to quit my job eventually. I mean, I'm going to retire at some point, but the hope is that it will help supplement some income at some point if there's enough of a community and a following and whatnot. My goal is to create community, because I think that the one thing that people are not doing that they should be doing is utilizing community of the people they know, the people that are around them. Everybody has something that they can kind of bridge a gap with other people with, whether it's their personal stories, their personal struggles, the things that they've learned. One of the things I've learned is that anybody who's successful in anything in life love to share with other people what they've learned. Mm-hmm. You know, anybody.
Absolutely.
And all it takes is us getting out of our own comfort zone of going, "Hey, I'm interested in doing this. Would you show me? Would you talk to me about it?" "Oh, absolutely. Let me teach you what I learned." If more people would do that, or they would utilize social media like YouTube to do that, I think that's how we help advance society as a whole. But, you know, there's no limits as to what we can do. It just matters if we're willing to do it.
Consistency.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I follow a guy on YouTube because of Disney. He lives down there, goes all the time. But he's been doing this for 10 years. He just celebrated his 10th anniversary. And the one thing he says that from the very beginning, when you start off with no followers at all, you start with no followers. You have to be consistent. If you consistently put out content, you will get followers. If you're not consistent with it, people will check on you, and then when they see you hadn't posted anything for days, weeks, then you lose them. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that Josh has done consistently is he's always posting YouTube videos, but with this podcast, he made a commitment day one, I'm going to do 2 a week. I'm not going to say I didn't think that he would stick with it, because he's very good about that kind of stuff, but he has not missed one. He does every Wednesday and every Saturday. Yeah. Doesn't matter whether we're on vacation at Disney or we're on a cruise ship in Alaska. Yep. He has tried to find a way. If it's taken 6 hours to upload a video at Disney, mm-hmm. because their internet there is very slow in your hotel rooms, he's been very consistent with
There's been challenges. And also learning to get around the challenges is interesting, because then mm-hmm. you can share it with other people of, hey, this is the workaround, or this is what you got to suffer through if you're going to do this.
Yeah, it's a new thing. I mean, especially when I'm on the road all the time as well, just doing anything with the internet. If I want to call back home to my lab back home to show a demonstration, I know I'm going to be subject to whatever internet liabilities I'm going to have out there.
You're very spoiled in the area you live in, and the fact that you've got fiber optics, mm-hmm. which is extremely fast.
Oh, I wish we could get that here. I so wish we could get that here.
One day.
We are up to 300 download and 26 upload. So they're slowly integrating the technology in the area. It's just not here.
And
yet.
I have a friend that works for AT&T. Mm-hmm. They are working on Florence. It just hasn't gotten this far yet.
Yeah. So they're building.
She keeps checking for me. She'll send me a message saying she doesn't live here in Florence now. She's relocated with them back to Jacksonville, Florida. But she will always. I'll text her and she's like, "I'm keeping up with it. Trust me. They're working on it. They're getting. It will eventually get to you guys." So.
Yeah, there's elements of, like, I work with guys who live out in the country, and they all tell me, "Oh, it's nice living out in the country because no one really bothers you and everything." And I'm like, "What's the drawback?" And they go, "Internet." I was like, "What?" "Yeah, internet's awful." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I never thought of it that way."
HughesNet Gen 5. Apparently that's all you can really get out there, so it seems, which
Yeah.
is satellite internet that maybe
Well-
goes at 5 megasecond or something like that.
And like that, I again, watching local TV recently, I know Verizon's been pushing for 5G for a while, and T-Mobile apparently is supposed to be turning a key like December 8th, I think, where they're 5G nationwide, but it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be big cities first before it ever translates out to
Usually it does.
into the sticks. But I would imagine that would help internet speeds across the board eventually.
Well, you're basically competing against the wire at that point. In this
Yeah.
case, wire, fiber optic wire versus wireless spectrum, where eventually the wireless spectrum will be just as fast, if not faster at some point.
And I'm a big fan for these different companies like competing with each other, because then it works out better for the consumer, because then they're going to compete for
yeah.
prices. They're like, hey, listen, we've got it too. Why don't you come to us for a better price? And you're like, okay, well, yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's healthy competition.
Yeah. For our area, it just so happens that Verizon works better than T-Mobile for our area. If we lived in somewhere more metropolis, there'd be no reason not to go with something cheaper like T-Mobile, because you get way more for your money. But, for, like I said, especially for my job, using GPS to go everywhere, I need a signal, and it just happens that they cover most of where I go. So, plenty of these guys that we get that work for us, used to come from Charlotte or, Charleston or something like that. And they've got like Cricket Mobile, and they're like, yeah, this works fine for where I lived, but now I got to
doesn't.
upgrade. And I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you do have to spend the extra money, but I'm a big fan of these companies competing with each other. I want them to compete more. I want fiber optics to come to Florence more,
It was life-changing for me, honestly.
yeah.
We're looking forward to it.
Especially when we work from home.
We are looking forward to it.
And key there is making sure you have the right equipment that actually supports it, so you're not getting limited. But
Yeah.
I'm just glad we
No
stay.
whole nother conversation.
I'm glad you stay in touch enough that whenever it came time for a new router, Josh was like,
yeah, I'm glad you reached
we need
out.
a new
I heard from you
router,
a
and-
little bit there.
we still had the original. We had the router, the last.
Yeah, the Netgear Nighthawk.
We had the Netgear Nighthawk, and Josh was like, I'm calling Jeff, because Jeff is the one that recommended the one that we've been using all these years. And whenever he said, okay, this is what he recommended, I was like, buy it. Of course, when I saw the price, I was like, whoa, baby.
It's a little expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this day and age, you kinda
Well,
get what you pay for.
like I say, it's
Yeah.
when I saw the price, I was like, whoa, what'd you
Well,
buy?
and like I mentioned the Nighthawk at the store. I was like, this is what I've been using, and he's like, whoa, you really need to upgrade. And I said, it's probably 8 years old. And they went, okay, yeah. They, I guess the new Nighthawks that are out obviously have better everything in it.
Yep, they have mesh
Even though they're
technology.
both
But that was a
Nighthawks.
good. I mean, that
It's
was a
just 8
good
years
router.
older.
It lasted a long time.
And it did everything we needed to at the time. But everything upgrades and everything moves faster and everything needs
Well, we're
more
also pulling a
demands.
lot more off of it too with this setup in here.
Oh, I can imagine.
So
Oh, and being able to upload faster. Oh, that's everything. That's why I want fiber optics the most. I mean, just the upgrade we had recently, is twice the upload speed, which still can take for a long time, but it's quite an endeavor. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Justine looks
I'm
like
just
she's already
glad
checked out.
knowing that y'all were in
I'm
town.
just looking at Dolores's medals from the
he's zoned
the
out
Disney
over there.
5Ks and races.
Those are
awesome.
Those are all the Disney are half.
I think her pride and joy is where she did the back to back.
Yes, I did.
Coast to
2016. I did Coast to Coast. That's what this one is.
Yeah, Disneyland.
Wow.
World.
I did the Princess in February of 2016, and then flew out to Anaheim and did the superhero half marathon. So I did 2 halves.
The Avengers half.
I actually did the glass slipper challenge in 2016, where we did the 5K, the 10K, and the half.
Wow.
And then flew out. That was in February. Then flew out to Anaheim, did a half, and qualified for this medal has Mickey and Walt on it.
That's awesome.
But now that was my last. My last half was in November of 2016.
Okay.
Did that half injured. Do not care that will make you want to stop. By the time I finished that half, I was in tears. Not because I was so thrilled.
And then I dragged her on to Space Mountain.
Yes.
Oh no. I'm
Crying
sorry
the
to
whole
hear
way.
That was the start of we flew out there on Thursday, ran the race on Sunday, and then the week we drove up the Pacific Coast Highway to San Francisco. So I still had the whole week
To go.
being injured, and it was not. I mean, it was okay. I said then I'm done, and I meant it.
When she finished that race, she was like,
I'm done with
she's
halves.
like, I'm hurt. I said, okay, do you want to go back to the room, or do you want to go see if we can ride a ride? And it was early, and she's like, let's go get on Space Mountain. And I'm like, you sure? She's like, I think so. You have to carry me. I was like, all right, let's go. And
I wound up having to work with a physical therapist for months to get that injury over. So I don't run any more than 4 or 5 miles. I'm under.
Okay.
Just 5Ks now. Maintain. We usually run.
That's
I have a group that we meet.
it's still more than I'm doing.
I have a group that
doing
we work out. Several girlfriends, and we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays we run, and we try to hold it right around 3.5, 4 miles, so that we are always ready for a 5K. Mm-hmm. I haven't run any 5Ks lately, but that's the plan. But yeah, this is like
Staying prepared.
I just quit. I quit with the whole picture frame.
Mm-hmm. I've been sitting here looking at them this whole time that we've been talking, and like, wow,
I did the
really
pictures
cool.
for a while, and then it just got to be too much. More than I can.
It's
keep
impressive.
Up with. More than I can keep up with. We got a little chain link going on there with all of our magic.
Oh, the magic bands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't reuse them.
You can, but we choose to get new ones.
Okay.
It's part of the package.
All right,
It's part of the
fair.
package.
At some point, they can go on with the Christmas tree instead of the garland. We can actually put those on there. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
But thank you guys for
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's
Hopefully,
good to
got
see
plenty
ya.
of content
Nice
here.
to
Our
meet you.
pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
And we'll put some links down here for everybody to reach out if you guys want to check on Jeff's CyberArk and Justine's CarolinaWordsmith.com. We'll put links on the information below so you guys can click on that kind of stuff. You guys got anything else you want to promote, talk about, or ask questions of?
Don't think so. No.
Okay.
Don't forget to review. Rate,
my wife
subscribe.
says I forget to mention. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, and be part of the community. And I always end this thing by saying, cue the cow. You want to say it? Cue the cow.